We have nothing but love and the utmost respect for Michael Schumacher and what he has achieved in Formula One. We are extremely saddened by what has happened to him, and our thoughts and prayers are with him and his dearest. There can be no disputing the fact that when he retired from racing for the second time in 2012, he was the undisputed GOAT. His first retirement in 2006, at the end of a glorious career-defining period at Ferrari, is indelibly written into the record books. At that time, nobody believed that some of those records would ever be broken. But records are made to be broken, and it was predestined that the person who replaced him at Mercedes, after his second retirement, would go on to also replace him in the record books. That person, of course, is Sir Lewis. Interestingly, Michael set the bar during his record-breaking period at Ferrari, but was unable to raise it even further during his time at Mercedes.
I said it was one of my toughest races, honestly, because to come back then and go through the traffic and fight your way through, I'm just proud of what we all have achieved.
Sir Lewis, on the other hand, set new records during his time at Mercedes, despite the best efforts of those who conspired to deny him the crowning glory of an undisputed 8th world title. Nevertheless, in fulfillment of the mantra, "Who God has blessed no man can curse," he has now been provided with a glorious opportunity to rise above all, with a stint at Ferrari, the ancestral home of F1.
The prancing horses are prancing, and Michael Schumacher crosses the line to win the Italian Grand Prix, and there is the proof of the jubilation that all Italy is experiencing at this moment. And now we're going to see this famous sight of the mass track invasion by the Tifosi, and if ever they had a reason to exult and shout and cheer, they've had it here today.
Stay in front of those guys in such a crowd is just unbelievable. I never have seen so many emotions, so many people enjoying themselves. It's fantastic. You can only see that in Italy.
We celebrate both men for their achievements. Their records and stats, which are head and shoulders above the rest, clearly show that Lewis is the undisputed GOAT, and Michael is the next on the list. However, it should be noted that F1 has produced many greats, whose talents and achievements cannot be diminished, or simply qualified by stats. For example, in our opinion, the wheel-to-wheel moment between Senna and Mansell on the straight, during the 1991 Spanish Grand Prix, is one of the most iconic moments in F1 history ever. We remember vividly that at that time, Senna had the reputation as the hardest driver in F1, and the last of the late breakers, but Mansell was just sublime, and it gives us the shivers every time we recall that scene. Both drivers are highly valued and greatly appreciated for their contributions to the sport. There are many others who have made significant contributions to the sport, but this video focuses specifically on Sir Lewis and Michael. We have referenced Mansell and Senna, just to make the point that driver recognition is not just down to statistics. That being said, stats do matter, and they confirm Sir Lewis as the GOAT. But Sir Lewis's greatness is not just down to stats. His journey on the way to creating those stats are equally full of iconic moments. His driving style is as impetuous as Senna's, as metronomic as Michael's, and as calculating as Prost's. His debut season challenge, to then defending double world champion, Fernando Alonso, was the most exciting and exhilarating rookie season ever. Hotly contested and fully loaded. Mechanical problems during the last race of what was then considered the greatest end to a Formula One season caused Lewis, who was then on track to be the first driver to win the title in his rookie season, to lose by 1 point. It is an indication of what was to come, that his consolation prize was beating his defending double world champion teammate. The to and fro between him and Nico Rosberg was the perfect example of how a Formula One season can be a spectacle to behold, when the two drivers in the dominant car are going at it, hammer and tongs. Unfortunately, after consecutive losses to Sir Lewis, Nico, in 2016, was finally able to triumph by setting the template for how off-track shenanigans can be used to get an edge over Sir Lewis. To his eternal damnation, Toto allowed Nico to mess around with antics like switching teams in the garage mid-season, just to get at Lewis. This is the template that John Malone plumbed to a lower depth in 2021, when he introduced his WWE style into F1, with a villain protected by a corrupt referee. John Malone's corrupt referee subsequently went on to rob Sir Lewis of his 8th title, and gift it to John Malone's villain, who will be referred to henceforth as JMV. Now down to the stats. On paper, both Michael and Lewis are 7-time champions, but we all know that Lewis was robbed of his 8th title in the darkest moment for any sport. In addition, it is indisputable that Lewis's 7 are without blemish. However, Schumacher's first was down to him allowing his fatally damaged car to drift into Damon Hill's, as Hill was about to overtake him to win the championship. At the time, we couldn't understand why Hill did not give him a wider berth, but it was what it was. In our opinion, Michael's greatness is not diminished by this professional foul, which many great sports people have committed and still commit to date. Sir Lewis took less races to win his 7 titles. He also did so by winning more races with a higher win percentage. He had been on the podium more often than Michael, with a higher podium percentage. Lewis also had more poles and a significantly higher poles percentage. Michael had held the record for all these stats before Lewis came along and broke them. Sir Lewis then went on to extend all of these records. Other stats that underscore Sir Lewis's superiority include the number of most consecutive wins. Sir Lewis does not even feature in the top 10 of this list. By comparison, when Michael claimed his 7th title, he won 7 races in a row to register 5th on the list. It is therefore clear that Sir Lewis faced more competition. This conclusion was corroborated by our previous video on who had the best period of dominance in F1, which found that Lewis's period was the most competitive. Another factor that rates Sir Lewis above Michael is that even though both drivers share the distinction of being the only 2 to have won a world title, when not driving for the team that won the Constructors' title, Michael's debut title, as mentioned earlier, was won by deliberately crashing into Damon Hill, while Sir Lewis's debut title with McLaren was won fair and square in 2008, when Ferrari won the Constructors' title. Having broken many of Michael's records by the time of equaling that for 7 titles, Sir Lewis has since gone on to extend many of those records, including winning his 8th title, which was outrageously stolen. The stats, records, and performance clearly prove that Sir Lewis is the greatest of all time, and Michael Schumacher is the 2nd greatest. Unfortunately for those who are desperately clinging on to the 7 world titles banner, to disingenuously claim that it is impossible to distinguish between the 2, 2025 is just around the corner. The year that Ferrari will commemorate the official passing of the GOAT title from one Ferrarista to another. Let us see what stunt John Malone will dare to pull when that time comes.
last chicane obviously wasn't able to accelerate out of the corner as fast as I wanted to, so obviously I'm a bit disappointed to be in second position, yes.
Pole position is the best start position for the race, as we all know, and you simply want to achieve that.